She moves through the villa without a sound, a cloth in her hand, a bucket at her feet. To Major Eduard Rujema of the Wehrmacht, she is invisible. She is just the housekeeper. She is the Polish girl who polishes his silver, sweeps his floors, and makes his mornings run in perfect order. She is no one worth watching, no one worth worrying about. But her eyes are not on the floor. Her eyes are moving slowly, deliberately, across the pages spread open on his desk. Deployment schedules. Transit orders. Arrest warrants thick with signatures. Lists of Jewish names awaiting transport to places from which no one returns. Every morning she enters this room. Every morning she reads. Major Rujema has left the most sensitive papers of his command within the reach of a cleaning rag. He never once thinks to hide them. Why would he? She is only the girl with the mop. And that is precisely what Irena Gut Opdyke needs him to believe. Her name was Irena Gut. She was born on May 5, 1918, in Kozienice, Poland, into a Catholic family that valued faith and hard work above everything else. Her father moved the family to Kozlo Agora and built a factory there that produced glass and ceramics. Her mother was well known in the community for her charity, always organizing aid for those in need. Irena was the eldest of 5 daughters. She was a serious, thoughtful girl. She wanted to become a nun. Her father sat her down and redirected her gently. "Become a nurse," he said. "You will do more good with your hands than on your knees." She enrolled at St. Mary Nursing School in Radom. In 1939, she was 21 years old. She had a future, she had a plan. Then September came. Germany invaded from the west. The Soviet Union came from the east. Poland was torn in half. Irena joined Polish army nurses and followed the chaotic retreat. Russian soldiers found her hiding in a forest. They beat her. They raped her and left her for the cold. She was forced to work in a Soviet military hospital. She remained there until a prisoner exchange allowed her to return to German-occupied Polish territory. She arrived in the city of Tarnopol, now under Wehrmacht control. She was assigned to a munitions factory. The fumes were thick and corrosive, and she fainted one day at her machine. A German officer noticed her. His name was Major Eduard Rujema. He learned she spoke fluent German, an unusual skill in a Polish forced labor. He transferred her to the kitchen of a hotel that catered to Nazi officials. That single act of convenience on his part placed Irena Gut directly inside the enemy's confidence, and she began to learn very quickly what power that position could hold. The hotel kitchen was a different kind of front line. There were no guns here, no uniforms, no patrols. Just white tablecloths, officers at dinner, and a young Polish woman carrying their soup. Men in positions of power have a habit of underestimating the people who serve them. They speak freely at the table. They argue over maps left open between courses. They laugh about liquidation schedules as though the woman refilling their glasses cannot understand German. Irene understood every word. She catalogued each conversation. She memorized names, dates, locations. She began doing something extremely dangerous. She started smuggling food from the hotel kitchen to the Tarnopol Ghetto nearby, small portions at first, enough for a handful of families. But then she met the 12. They worked in the Wehrmacht laundry adjacent to the hotel, washing German uniforms under forced labor conditions. She brought them food. She brought them medicine when she could find it. She became their connection to the world outside the wire. The friendship she built there would define the next 3 years of her life. When Rujema transferred her to his requisitioned private villa as head housekeeper in 1943, she gained something even more valuable. She gained access to his study. Every morning while the major was at his office, she entered that room with her cloth and her bucket. She moved with the unhurried confidence of a woman simply doing her work. And then she read. She read every document on his desk: deployment orders, arrest lists, transit schedules, ghetto liquidation plans for Tarnopol and the surrounding region. There was no camera, no coded cipher, no intelligence network waiting to receive her reports. There was only her mind, so she used it. She memorized everything. She committed to memory the names on arrest warrants, the dates on liquidation orders, the designated transport hubs. She walked out of the room, picked up her bucket, and went back to polishing floors. Then she found a way to reach her friends and tell them what she knew. She used what she learned from that desk immediately and repeatedly. The first major warning came when she overheard two German officers at dinner discussing an upcoming raid on the Tarnopol Ghetto. She kept her face composed. She refilled their glasses. She walked back to the kitchen without hurrying. Then she got word to her friends in the laundry. They spread the warning through the ghetto. That night, families moved. That night, people who would have been arrested at dawn were already gone. The cycle repeated itself throughout 1942 and into 1943. Every time Irene intercepted a plan, a warning traveled outward from her position at the center of the enemy's household. Then the orders on Rugemer's desk became final. The July 1943 liquidation of the Tarnopol Ghetto was not a raid. It was the end. Every Jewish person remaining inside the ghetto was to be transporting. The destination was not specified in the paperwork. In occupied Poland in 1943, no destination needed to be specified. Irene read those orders at Rugemer's desk. She straightened the papers back to their exact original position and walked out of the room. But this time there was nowhere for the ghetto to escape to. There was only one option. Irene went to her 12 friends from the laundry. She told them to come with her. She brought them to Rugemer's villa under cover of darkness, one by one. She hid them in the cellar beneath the house. Then she went upstairs and made the major's breakfast. She greeted him in the morning. She kept the villa spotless. She answered every question about the household with the calm efficiency he expected from her. 12 people breathed silently in the basement beneath her feet, and Major Eduard Rugemer had no idea. Among those 12 was a couple named Ida and Laser Haller. Weeks into their hiding, Ida discovered she was pregnant. The couple told Irene they would give the baby up or end the pregnancy rather than risk detection. Irene refused to accept that. "You will be free," she told Ida quietly, "and your baby will be born free." 9 months passed, the secret held. Then in early 1944, Irene made one single devastating mistake. She forgot to lock a basement door. Rugemer, looking for something in the cellar that evening, opened the wrong door. He came face to face with 12 people in the dark. No one moved, no one spoke. The major turned and walked back upstairs. He found Irene and his face was a wall of rage. He was not a loud man. He spoke with the cold precision of a German officer. "I trusted you," he said. "How could you do this behind my back, in my own house?" The sentence landed like a verdict. Every person downstairs would be shot if he made one telephone call. Irene had no leverage. She had no weapon. She had nothing except the truth. She stood in front of him and she spoke. She told him exactly who those people were. She told him they had done nothing. She asked him, a soldier, a major, a man with a direct line to the Gestapo, to show mercy. He was silent for a very long time. Then he told her his terms. He would say nothing. There would be no report, no Gestapo, no executions. The 12 could remain hidden, but Irene would become his mistress. She had exactly one option. She accepted. "I won't tell you it was easy," she said decades later, when she finally told her story publicly, "but I knew there were 12 lives depending on me." Rugemer believed in that moment that the worst of what Irene had done was hide his cleaning duties from him. He had no idea that while she had been dusting his shelves and polishing his floors, she had been reading classified Wehrmacht orders. She had been inside his operations, his schedules, his plans. She had been using his own paperwork against him for months. His housekeeper, his cleaning girl, he never once suspected her. It was the summer of 1943. The Tarnopol Ghetto was still standing, barely. Irene arrives at Rugemer's study on a morning in July, as she does every morning. The major has already left for Wehrmacht headquarters. The study is silent. His desk is precisely ordered, the papers arranged with military neatness. She begins with the bookshelves. A cloth in her hand, she works along the spines of volumes, steady, methodical. Then she turns. A document sits open on the desk. A formal Wehrmacht order, stamped and signed. She does not hurry. She crosses the room with the unhurried calm of a woman who belongs there. She leans forward and reads. The document is the finalized liquidation order for the Tarnopol Ghetto. It is dated. The names of the transit officers are listed. The schedule for the roundup is exact. The destination column is filled not with a place name but with a code. Irene has seen enough of these documents to know what the code means. She reads the entire order twice. She memorizes the date. She notes the names of the signing officers. She straightens the document to precisely its original position, not a millimeter displaced, not a wrinkle added. She picks up her cloth. She picks up her bucket. She walks out of the study with the same expression she walked in with. Nothing, blank. Domestic, in the cellar that afternoon, she descends with clean linen, as she always does. She tells her 12 friends what is coming. She tells them the date. She tells them the ghetto will be emptied, that any person still inside will be transporting. Word spreads from that cellar outward through whatever thin threads of contact survive. In the days that follow, in the streets of the ghetto, families receive whispered warnings. A cleaning woman's stolen glance at a German officer's desk is now the difference between life and death for people she will never meet. The liquidation came in July 1943, on schedule, exactly as Irene had read it would. The roundups were thorough and brutal, but some people were already gone. The warnings passed from that desk, from those dinner tables, from Irene's movements through enemy territory for months. They had reached people in time, and in the cellar of Rujema's villa, 12 lives remained intact. By early 1944, the war had turned. The Eastern Front was collapsing. Soviet forces were advancing toward Tarnopol. Rujema fled westward with the retreating German columns in the spring of 1944. The villa was abandoned. Irene and her 12 charges came up from the cellar and walked into the forests west of the city. They were free. Among the 12 was Ida Haller. On May 4, 1944, in a forest clearing, Ida gave birth to a baby boy. He entered the world not in a camp, not on a transport, not in a cellar. He was born free. Irene held the child and said, "That was my payment for whatever hell I went through." They named him Roman Haller. All 12 people Irene Gut had hidden in that basement survived the war, every single one. Roman Haller grew up, studied, and eventually became the director of the German office of the Claims Conference, the organization that represents world Jewry in Holocaust restitution negotiations. The cleaning woman's 12 had not just survived, they had rebuilt. What began at a kitchen table and a mop and a stack of German orders had produced a future. After the war, Irene made her way to a displaced persons camp in Allied-occupied Germany. She had nothing. She had lost her country, her family home, her youth, and years she could never recover. At the camp, she met a United Nations relief worker from New York City named William Opdyke. She emigrated to the United States in 1949. She married William in 1956. She raised a daughter. She lived quietly. For years, she told no one. Then in 1975, she attended a public event and heard a neo-Nazi stand at a podium and tell an audience that the Holocaust never happened. She stood up in that room and she spoke. She could not stop. From that night forward, she traveled to schools, churches, synagogues, community halls, anywhere that would have her, and she told the truth about what she had seen and what she had done. In 1982, Yad Vashem honored her as one of the righteous among the nations. In 1995, Pope John Paul II gave her his personal blessing. In 1999, she published her memoir, In My Hands, Memories of a Holocaust Rescuer. She died on May 17, 2003, in Fullerton, California. She was 85 years old. Major Rujema went to his grave believing she was only a cleaning woman. He was catastrophically wrong. The most dangerous intelligence operation in that villa was carried out with a cloth, a bucket, and eyes that never missed a word.